So I hope you enjoy this little video of thought provoking. If you hang around to the end, I give an update of where the truck's at, where it's going, where it's been, and just the current setup. So I hope you enjoyed this video. So the name of the truck is Thought Provoking. It's a 1987 Chevy S10. It's currently a twin turbo LS setup. Um, the truck started out, I wanted to build a budget build, I guess. I had stumbled across the sloppy mechanics and what those guys were doing on a cheap budget. I had never done anything with turbo. Other than that, no experience in turbo, fuel injection, tuning, any of that stuff. So this was my first attempt of it. Um, the truck started out, it was a single turbo. Like I said, I didn't know anything about turbo or fuel injection, so I thought spending money was, I guess, the best way to go about it. So I bought a 72 63 Turbonetics turbo. Um, I started out with the manifolds, just the truck manifolds. I cut those up and made my own hot side out of that. I didn't realize at the time where exactly it was going, but my goal all along was I wanted to end up at a twin turbo with nitrous that would run in the nines. Um, I didn't know all the steps that it would take to get there, obviously, and the things that I would go through on the way to figure it all out. I use the nitrous just to spool up the turbos and for my air inlet temps. Um, I started out with a LS9 cam and springs and quickly realized that that didn't work very well with the turbo I had. So I got a hold of Jarrett Faggart and got one of his Inski cam race cams that was ground for his turbo grind. That really brought the truck alive, like a big difference on just doing that. I had to get pack springs, get rid of the LS9 stuff. Um, Originally, I had the intake from the truck, the Yukon that I got the donor motor out of, and I changed that out for the Trailblazer SS intake. Um, the motor I took out of a Yukon. It was a 2003 Yukon, and I tore it all down. I just gave it a really good garage machining and put some Texas rods with Wiseco pistons in it. Gapped those for nitrous and turbo. And I had some just cheap injectors, and put it on E85. And the truck was okay after I took it out and did some shakedowns and got it running. I mean, it was okay, but it was not what I wanted it to be at all. So I took a 4L80E in and got all new clutches put in it, and I put the Jake's Performance transit brake in it, which helped a lot. There you can see the track bars. Those I bought all the components from eBay, put that together myself. That helped a lot on the 60 foot and the takeoff, and started to feel a lot better. But it seemed like the better I got the truck to go, the more I wanted out of it, like everybody else. So then I went, before we went to Outlaw Armageddon, I tore the truck apart and I put a bigger 78, 72 VS Racing turbo on it. That worked a lot better. It built boost a lot better. It built more boost, more consistent boost, but I had major boost creep issues, which is where I got the name Major Boost Creep. So I ended up drilling into the turbine and welding the wastegate directly on there, and it took care of my issue. I didn't have any more boost creep. I was able to control the boost, run the nitrous. Everything was working pretty well. But to start out with, I always had the goal of going twin turbo, and didn't really know exactly when I would go there. But as I started fighting issues, I had a lot of back pressure issues with that truck manifold setup that I had done with the temp gun. You could see that there was really super high temps. Just wasn't on one side. It just wasn't efficient enough. And I ended up actually cracking the turbo. Not the turbo, but I actually cracked the driver's side truck manifold. Popped it open. So that kind of helped me in the decision to go ahead and tear it down. After we got back from Outlaw Armageddon, we had noticed over there with the temp gun that we had a couple of cold cylinders, and the computer, it's a Holley Dominator, was always just constantly trying to take more and more fuel out. And so I knew I had issues with that. So when I got home, we went back on the street a little bit out here and ran it a few times. I just never was really happy with it. It wasn't running terrible at this time. It wasn't horrible. It was high fives in the eighth probably. So we tore it down again, and I decided, instead of spending the money to put a hot side for a single turbo, it was just as cheap to go ahead and do the twin turbo I always wanted to do. So I bought the reverse headers and everything that I needed to put that together. In the meantime, I also got Holley 120 pound injectors, which I've not been close to running out of injector yet. I did have to get the harness from Holley to make my Holley Dominator to where I could run two O2 sensors at the same time. So I have two 450 pumps setup on this. That way, whatever boost setting I want, like when the system sees the boost setting that I've got it set to, then the second one will kick on, so they're not both running at the same time. And again, that's on E85 with a little bit of nitrous. I have LS9 head gaskets in there. The steel multi-layer gaskets. I got the dual Holley boost control solenoids with the aluminum CO2 bottle that I put on top of the wastegates to control the boost. In that 4L80E, I put the Circle D converter, the high stall converter in there, and that seems to work pretty well. I think that my RPM shifts and everything seem to be pretty well, and it seems to do a lot better with the bigger turbo and the more boost. So I'll get to see more how that goes when I get this thing back to the track. Since we've had it to twin turbo, I have not got to take it to the track or have no numbers on it. So you'll have to stay tuned for that one. But me and a couple of guys, we built this truck together. I've done a lot of it myself, and they've, stepped in as much as they can when I really need the help. They come by and help me out on that. Usually when it's something that is hard to do with more than one person or heavy lifting. A lot of the help comes whenever I take it out to the street. If you look at the picture right before the Outlaw Armageddon videos in this video, you'll see the 96 Dodge that we took off cross country, 3 grown men in a single cab, which was an adventure in itself. But they helped me out a lot, so you'll see them on the channel and hear them on the channel and hear them laugh at me, and you'll hear us talk shit to each other. But so I got an 8.8 rear end in this thing. I cut it down, just sloppy style. Just cut it down, put the short shaft in the other side, welded it up, put it back on the leaf springs in the S10, the stock leaf springs with the Trax bars that I built. And here you can see all the electronics and this everything that we had to put in there. It's got a trans brake. Like I said, that's the Jake's Performance trans brake. Works really well. I've got it set up with progressive controller so that I can use the bump box, which is not actually a bump box, but the bump button. It's a 8.5 cage that's in there that you see there. I still don't regret the choice. I like the setup. I like the weight. This truck with me in it weighs just under 3,000 pounds. It's fiberglass front end, fiberglass hood, gutted on the inside, as you can see. The doors have all been cut out and lightened up. A lot of lightning going on underneath. It's still got the stock frame rails all the way down through there. Just got rid of all of the crap that you don't need under these S10s. And the 5.3's been good. It's been solid. I've done a lot of bad things to it as far as tuning and learning and bad injectors and boost creep and just about everything you can think of. I mean, at one point I had injectors that were stuck open on a couple of cylinders, so they were just washing them out basically, and the system was trying to compensate for that, so it was leaning out the other cylinders. But it's held up well. I've compression checked it. Everything seems to be good and healthy. The plugs show that it's good and healthy. And we'll see. We're currently waiting for a good race day here now in California. So the next event that we have at my local track, which is the Famosa track, we'll take it out and run a number. And hopefully I'll get all that on video so that I can show you guys. If you're new or you happen to find this or stumbled upon this, I'd appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe.